The coin hit the wet pavement with a hollow clink. Elena's trembling fingers closed around it as rain mixed with her tears, mascara bleeding down her once perfect face. 6 months ago, she'd stood on a stage wearing diamonds. Now she knelt in the gutter, staring up at the tinted window of a black Mercedes. The window lowered. Their eyes met. She destroyed him once, sent him to prison, stolen his fortune, laughed while he rotted behind bars. Now he was free, wealthy beyond measure, and she had nothing. Alex placed one more coin in her shaking palm. No words, just silence. The window closed. The car pulled away. How did the woman who had everything end up with less than nothing? How does love turn into the cruelest weapon? And why? Why would a man rebuild his entire life just to watch his betrayer fall? Before we dive in, hit that like button if you're ready for a story about betrayal. So deep it'll make your blood run cold. And subscribe because this story is going to blow your mind. But to understand that moment in the rain, we need to go back 7 years. Back when Elena Wright was a woman everyone envied and Alex Brennan was just a dreamer with empty pockets. Sign it. Elena stared at the contract on the mahogany desk. Senior Marketing Director, Whitmore and Associates, London office, $200,000 a year, plus bonuses that could double that. The recruiter's pen gleamed under the office lights, waiting. Across town, Alex sat in their cramped apartment, surrounded by rejection letters. His tech startup, 3 years of work, was 90 days from bankruptcy. The investors had pulled out. The patents were worthless without funding. He bet everything on an algorithm nobody wanted. Elena's phone buzzed. A text from Alex. Another no. I'm sorry, El. Maybe I should just get a regular job. She looked at the contract again. Her dream. Her escape from their struggling life. Then she picked up the pen and tore the paper in half. The recruiter's jaw dropped. Ms. Wright, do you understand what you're... I do. Elena stood, her hand steady even as her heart screamed. Tell Whitmore I'm staying in Connecticut. My husband needs me more than I need London. That night, she came home to find Alex sitting in the dark, head in his hands. El, I can't ask you to keep suffering through this. Your parents were right. I'm just a... She kissed him quiet. Stop. I didn't tear up that contract, so you could quit on me now. She pulled out her laptop. Now show me this algorithm everyone's too stupid to understand. They worked until dawn. Elena took a receptionist job at a law firm, half her old salary, to keep them afloat. Every spare hour, she helped Alex pitch, refine, strategize. When he wanted to give up, she dragged him back to the drawing board. When investors mocked him, she found new ones. Your dream is our dream, she whispered one night, both of them exhausted on their second-hand couch. We're in this together. Always. 18 months later, Brennan Tech sold its first major contract. Then another. Then 10 more. By their 5th anniversary, they were millionaires. By their 6th, they lived in a mansion in Greenwich with a pool that cost more than their old apartment building. Alex's company valued at $40 million and climbing. The fairy tale everyone dreams about. The struggling couple who made it together. Their wedding vows echoed differently now, spoken in a penthouse instead of a rented hall. I'll always protect you. Alex meant every word. After all, Elena had sacrificed everything for him. Hadn't she? The party after their latest funding round was excessive even by Greenwich standards. Champagne fountains, ice sculptures, a jazz band flown in from New Orleans. Elena glowed in a dress that cost more than her old yearly salary. She laughed, radiant, surrounded by admirers. Alex watched her from across the room, chest tight with gratitude. His wife, his partner, the woman who believed when no one else did. You're a lucky man, Brennan. Alex turned. Thaddeus Quinn, their lead investor, raised his glass. Not many women would have stuck around through those early days. You found a real one. Don't I know it? But across the room, something shifted. Elena's smile froze as she checked her phone. Just for a second. Then it was back, bright and perfect. Alex noticed. Of course he noticed. Later that night, as she slept beside him in their California King, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Alex glanced over. A text preview lit the screen. Still thinking about earlier. When can I see you again? Unknown number. His stomach dropped. No, not Elena. Not after everything. He told himself it was nothing. A wrong number. Spam. But sleep didn't come easy that night. Who's Victor? Elena looked up from her coffee, eyes wide. What? Alex kept his voice calm, even though his heart hammered. Victor, I saw messages on your phone. You left it on the counter this morning. Her face did something complicated. Surprise, then hurt, then something harder to read. She set down her mug carefully. You're checking my phone now? I wasn't checking. It was open. Elena, who is he? Silence stretched between them. Outside their breakfast room, Gardner's trimmed hedges worth more than most people's cars. Finally, Elena's eyes filled with tears. Colton Victor. He was a friend from college. We dated briefly years before I met you. He reached out a few months ago through LinkedIn. What did he want? To reconnect, he said. He's going through a divorce. I told him I was married, that it wasn't appropriate, but he kept pushing boundaries, making everything sound innocent, but... She wiped her eyes. I should have blocked him immediately. I'm sorry. I just felt bad for him. Alex wanted to believe her. God, he wanted to. Can I see the messages? She handed over her phone without hesitation. He scrolled through the thread. Friendly at first, then increasingly flirty from Victor's side. Elena's responses were polite but distant. The last message from her. Victor, I need you to respect my marriage. Please don't contact me again. She'd sent it 3 days ago. Alex felt a suspicion deflate. Why didn't you tell me? Because I knew you'd react exactly like this. Her voice cracked. We built something beautiful, Alex. I didn't want some pathetic man from my past creating problems between us. He pulled her close. I'm sorry. I couldn't lose you. Not after everything. She kissed his cheek. You won't. I promise. I blocked him this morning. The conversation should have ended there, but it didn't, because a week later, Alex came home early from a conference. His keynote had been canceled, corrupted presentation file. He'd called Elena to tell her, but she hadn't answered. He pulled into their circular driveway at 2 p.m. instead of 6 p.m. Elena's car was there, so it was a black Audi he didn't recognize. Alex's mouth went dry. He walked to the front door. Locked, which was odd for a weekday afternoon. He used his key, moving quietly through the foyer. Laughter drifted from upstairs. Elena's voice, bright and unguarded in a way he hadn't heard in months. Then a man's voice. Deep, amused. Alex stood at the bottom of the stairs, every muscle locked. The logical part of his brain offered explanations. Contractor, designer, friend. But that laugh, that intimate, unguarded sound. He started up the stairs. The voices came from their master bedroom. The door was closed. Alex reached for the handle, then stopped. Elena's earlier tears. Her convincing explanation. The blocked number. If he was wrong, if he threw open that door and found her with a designer or her cousin or anyone innocent, he'd destroy her trust forever. She'd sacrifice her whole career for him. She'd earned better than paranoid suspicions. The laughter came again. Alex lowered his hand. He walked back downstairs, got in his car, and drove to his office. He sat in the parking lot for 3 hours, hands shaking, before going home. Elena greeted him with a kiss, asking about his day. She seemed normal, happy even. How was your afternoon? He asked, hating himself for the test. Oh, boring. She smiled, caught up on emails, did some shopping online. Lonely without you. No mention of visitors. That night, Alex lay awake while Elena slept peacefully beside him. He told himself he was being paranoid, told himself that successful men often became suspicious because they had more to lose. But in his gut, where instinct lives deeper than logic, something whispered, she's lying. And somewhere across town, in a cheap apartment that smelled like cigarettes and failure, Colton Victor scrolled through photos on his phone. Elena, laughing in his arms that afternoon. Elena, whispering promises against his neck. Elena, his Elena, who'd loved him first before that tech bro husband stole her with money and empty dreams. Victor's jaw clenched. Alex Brennan had everything Victor deserved. The success, the mansion, the woman. But Victor knew something Brennan didn't. Elena's sacrifice, the torn contract, the loyal wife routine, all of it was real. She had loved Alex once. But people change. Money changes things. And the girl who'd loved Victor in college, wild, passionate, alive, that girl was still in there, suffocating under diamond necklaces and charity galas. Victor had spent the afternoon reminding her. And judging by the way she'd kissed him goodbye, promising to see him again soon, he'd succeeded. He poured another whiskey, staring at his reflection in the darkened window. "Your dream is our dream," he muttered mockingly, echoing the words Elena had confessed to him, the words she'd once said to Alex. Then he smiled, because he and Elena had started planning something new that afternoon, something that would give Victor everything he'd lost, and take everything from Alex Brennan. But not yet. First, they needed the right moment, the perfect crime. All they needed was patience, and Alex Brennan's complete, trusting, stupid faith. 6 months crawled by. Alex tried to convince himself everything was fine. Elena seemed devoted, planning date nights, supporting his business expansion, laughing at his jokes the way she used to. But small things felt wrong. She'd become protective of her phone, started working out obsessively, wore perfume to the grocery store. And twice more, Alex had come home to find her flushed, eyes bright, claiming she'd just finished yoga or taken a long bath. His business partner, Marlo Chun, noticed his distraction during a board meeting. "You good, man? You been somewhere else lately?" "Fine. Just tired." Marlo studied him. "Elena okay?" Why wouldn't she be? No reason. Just, Giselle saw her having coffee with some guy at that place in Stanford last week. Probably nothing, but it was nothing. Alex cut him off too quickly. Marlo raised his hands. "Sure, man. Sure." That night, Alex decided to stop being paranoid. He was going to trust his wife. The woman who'd sacrificed everything for him deserved that much. What he didn't know, Elena and Victor had already set the trap. It started small. A burner phone purchased with cash, registered to a fake name at a fake address. Victor, using connections from his criminal past, the past Elena didn't know about, sourced what they needed, cocaine, enough to trigger a felony charge. A bottle of Rohypnol, bruised makeup from a Hollywood quality effects shop. "Are you sure about this?" Elena asked, staring at the items spread across Victor's kitchen table. They'd been meeting regularly now. The affair had deepened. She'd stopped feeling guilty somewhere around the third time she climbed into Victor's bed, around the time she remembered what it felt like to be desired rather than appreciated. Alex was good, safe, grateful, but Victor made her feel alive. "I'm sure," Victor said, pulling her close. "He's got 40 million. Half of that's yours in a divorce, but only if we can prove abuse or criminal activity. Otherwise, that prenup your parents made you sign means you walk away with almost nothing." Elena bit her lip. The prenup. God, she'd been so young and in love, so sure they'd never split. But if he goes to prison, community property laws still apply. The criminal charges void the prenup's morality clause. You get half, maybe more with a good lawyer. 20 million, baby. We could disappear. Start over somewhere warm. Just us. Elena looked at the drugs again. What if something goes wrong? Nothing will go wrong. Victor kissed her forehead. You call 911, crying, saying your husband attacked you. We plant the drugs beforehand. You've got the bruises. I've already got someone willing to testify. They saw him buying at a club. Who? Mark Voss, his old college roommate. Elena's eyes widened. Mark would never. Mark owes me money. Gambling debts. Serious ones. He'll say whatever we need, or my associates will break his kneecaps. Victor's voice was casual, like discussing the weather. For the first time, Elena felt a chill. Victor, those people you said you left that life behind. I did, but old friends owe old favors. He turned her face toward him. Don't go soft now. He took you from me, remember? Bought you with money and promises while I had nothing. Now it's our turn. She thought about Alex. Sweet, trusting Alex, who still looked at her like she'd hung the moon. Then she thought about the prenup, about being divorced and back to nothing if she left cleanly, about Victor's hands on her skin, making her feel young again. Okay, she whispered. When? Next week, Thursday night. He's got that invested dinner, right? He'll come home late tired. Perfect timing. They spent the next hour rehearsing her story. The bruises had to look real. Her fear had to seem genuine. Every detail mattered. What they didn't rehearse was how completely Alex's life would shatter, or how much Elena would enjoy watching. Thursday arrived wrapped in autumn cold. Alex kissed Elena goodbye that morning, distracted by the pitch he'd be making that evening. 12 investors, $50 million on the table. The biggest deal of his career. Good luck, Elena said, smiling against his lips. You'll be amazing. Love you. Love you too. He left at 7 a.m. At 9 a.m., Victor let himself into the back gate. Elena had given him the security code weeks ago. They worked quickly. The cocaine went into Alex's home office, hidden inside a hollowed-out book on a shelf. More in his desk drawer, planned to look hastily concealed. The burner phone, loaded with fake messages about drug deals, went into his car's glove compartment. Victor had thought of everything. At 6 p.m., Alex texted, "Dinner running long. Home by 11. Perfect." At 10:30 p.m., Elena called 911, her voice shaking with practiced terror. "Please, my husband. He attacked me. He's been using drugs. I found him. I confronted him and he just... Please send someone." Sobs. Hyperventilating. Academy Award performance. The operator kept her on the line. Police were dispatched. At 10:47 p.m., Alex pulled into his driveway, exhausted but elated. The investors had said yes. All $50 million. He couldn't wait to tell Elena. 4 police cars were waiting. "Alex Brennan?" "Yes." "What's?" "Put your hands on the vehicle. Now." Everything happened in sickening slow motion. Handcuffs. Miranda rights. Elena being led out by paramedics, her face swollen with expertly applied bruises. Mascara running. She looked at him. One brief glance, and Alex saw something flicker in her eyes before she looked away. Not fear. Satisfaction. "Elena!" he shouted. "Elena, what's happening?" She flinched away from him, sold it perfectly. "Sir!" "Stop talking." The officer barked, forcing him toward a patrol car. At the station, the nightmare crystallized. Assault, possession with intent to distribute. The cocaine in his office. The burner phone with damning messages. Elena's testimony about months of erratic behavior. Mood swings, paranoia. "She's lying," Alex said, over and over. "Test me. Drug test me right now." They did. It came back clean. "Doesn't mean you're not dealing," Detective Brennan said. "And your wife's injuries are very real. I didn't touch her. I was at dinner with 12 people. Dinner ended at 9, according to your own statement. You didn't get home until nearly 11. Where were you for 2 hours?" Alex's mind went blank. I drove around, thinking. I needed to clear my head before. "Before you went home and beat your wife?" "No." But it didn't matter. The evidence was overwhelming. The testimony damning. His lawyer, the best money could buy, laid it out grimly. "They've got you cold, Alex. The drugs, the phone, her injuries, and witnesses placing you at the club where the phone records show purchases were arranged." "What witnesses?" "I've never been to whatever club there." "Mark Voss says he saw you there multiple times." Alex's blood ran cold. "Mark? My Mark. He's testifying for the prosecution." The betrayal cut deeper than anything else. The trial was a spectacle. Elena testified tearfully about the husband who'd changed, who'd become violent and paranoid, about finding the drugs and confronting him, about his hands around her throat. She was so convincing, Alex almost believed her himself. Mark took the stand, would meet Alex's eyes, and described seeing his old friend at Club Meridian, visibly agitated, meeting with known dealers. All lies, but the jury believed them. Guilty. All counts. 10 years. Elena filed for divorce the next day. The criminal conviction voided the prenup. She got half of everything, $22 million. Alex was transported to Rayburn Correctional in upstate Connecticut 3 weeks later. The night before, his lawyer visited with papers to sign, asset transfers, business dissolution, the formal end of his life. "I'm sorry," the lawyer said quietly. "For what it's worth, I believe you. Doesn't matter what you believe." "No, I suppose it doesn't." Alex signed everything with numb fingers. The business, your shares are being sold to cover legal fees and the settlement. Marlowe's buying out your stake at a reduced rate. It was the best we could do. Everything, gone. The lawyer hesitated at the door. "Your wife visited the office yesterday to finalize the paperwork, and she was with someone. A man. They seemed close." Alex laughed, a broken sound. Of course she was. That night, alone in his cell for the first time, Alex Brennan, former millionaire, former husband, former fool, pressed his face into a thin mattress that smelled like bleach and despair, and wept. Prison is a special kind of death. Alex learned this slowly, painfully, through 5 years of brutal routine. Rayburn Correctional wasn't the worst facility in Connecticut, but it was far from easy, especially for a former millionaire who'd been all over the news. The first week, 3 inmates jumped him in the showers, put him in an infirmary with a broken rib and a message: "Rich boys pay taxes here." He paid. Commissary money, protection fees, the invisible economy of survival. Months blurred into years. He worked in the prison library, kept his head down, counted days like a miser, counting coins. In year 2, Elena visited. Alex almost refused to see her. But curiosity, that poisonous, masochistic need to understand why, brought him to the visiting room. She looked incredible. Designer clothes, new jewelry, hairstyled expensively. The sight of her hurt worse than the beating in the showers. "Alex." Her voice was soft, eyes glistening. He said nothing. "I needed to see you. To try to explain." "Explain what?" "How you framed me. Stole my life. Destroyed everything." Tears spilled down her perfect cheeks. "I believed in us so much. I really did. But you changed. The success, the money. You became someone I didn't recognize. Paranoid. Controlling. I was scared. The lie was so smooth, so practiced. Alex almost admired it. You planted drugs in my house. I found them. I confronted you and you. I was never there. Elena, we both know it." She looked away. "I can't live in fear anymore. I'm sorry. I came to tell you I'm filing for divorce." "Already did. Year ago. Remember? The papers are final now." She stood, gathered her purse. "I hope someday you can get help. Really deal with what you became." She left without looking back. Alex returned to his cell and punched the concrete wall until his knuckles bled. That night, his cellmate, a grizzled man named Pike serving 15 for armed robbery, watched him wrap his damaged hand. "The wife?" "Yeah. She set you up." It wasn't a question. Alex looked at him sharply. Pike shrugged. "Seen it before. Rich guy. Trophy wife. Convenient arrest. You get tested? Came back clean. But they still got you on possession. Evidence was planted. Had to be." Pike nodded slowly. "You got proof?" "No." "Then you better get some. Clock's running. Rich boy. You gonna sit here feeling sorry for yourself, or you gonna do something about it?" That conversation changed everything. Alex started requesting law books from the library, studied his case file until he could recite it backwards, filed motion after motion, all denied, but he learned. In year 3, he met Bernard Cross. Bernard was a lifer, embezzlement and fraud, But before prison, he'd been a forensic accountant. He took an interest in Alex's case. Maybe because he was bored, maybe because he saw something in the younger man's desperation. Your phone records, Bernard said, spreading papers across the library table. The burner they found in your car. You said you never saw it before? Never. But the messages dated back months. Detailed drug transactions. All fake. Bernard tapped the papers. Fake, yes, but professionally fake. Whoever set this up knew what they were doing. These messages reference real dealers, real locations. Someone with inside knowledge. My wife couldn't. Your wife had help. Alex's pulse quickened. Who? That's what we need to find out. They worked in secret for 8 months. Bernard taught Alex how to trace financial records, how to identify patterns. They requested discovery documents through legal channels, cross-referenced every detail. And slowly, a picture emerged. The detective who'd led his arrest, Harvey Moss, had a history of questionable cases. 3 overturned convictions in 5 years, all involving planted evidence. The club where Mark claimed to have seen Alex? Owned by a shell corporation registered to an address in Stamford. The same address where Elena had been seen having coffee with an unknown man. Victor. It took another 6 months to find his full name, Colton Victor Reeves. Priors for fraud and extortion. Served 3 years in his 20s. Got out and supposedly went straight. He and Elena had dated in college. And 3 weeks after Alex's conviction, Victor had deposited $180,000 into a new bank account. That's not half of $20 million, Bernard observed. She probably gave him just enough to keep him quiet, Alex said, ice forming in his chest. More digging revealed Mark Voss had paid off $90,000 in gambling debts 2 weeks after trial. The frame became clear. Alex filed an appeal based on new evidence. His lawyer, a different one now, a hungry public defender who believed him, worked the case hard. In year 5, a breakthrough, Detective Moss was arrested for evidence tampering in an unrelated case. During that investigation, informants came forward about his side business, planting evidence for cash. One informant specifically mentioned Alex's case. The dominoes fell. Within months, Alex's conviction was overturned. He was released pending a new trial, a trial that would never happen because the prosecution's case had evaporated. On a cold October morning, 6 years and 4 months after entering Rayburn, Alex Brennan walked out a free man. He was 42 years old. He had $247 in his commissary account and the clothes on his back. His business was gone. His money was gone. His reputation was destroyed. But unlike when he'd entered prison broken and weeping, Alex walked out with something new, clarity, purpose, and a plan that had taken 6 years to forge in the fires of rage. He stood outside the prison gates, breathing free air, and smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. Elena and Victor had taken everything from him. Now it was his turn. Time to collect. Pike met Alex outside the prison gates in a beat-up Honda. Figured you'd need a ride. Alex climbed in. Thought you had 2 more years. Early release. Good behavior. Pike grinned, showing missing teeth. Lying helps. They drove to a motel in Bridgeport. $40 a night. Stained carpets. The smell of cigarette smoke embedded in the walls. Pike had fronted the money. You got family? Pike asked. No. Parents died while I was inside. No siblings. Alex sat on the sagging bed. I've got nothing. Wrong. You got something most cons don't. Pike tossed him a prepaid phone. You got enemies worth destroying. Over the next week, Pike introduced Alex to people. The kind of people who existed in shadows, who traded information and favors instead of business cards. A hacker named Iris who could ghost identities. A cryptocurrency trader named Devin who worked exclusively with untraceable assets. A forger named Wu who could create documents so perfect they'd fool federal databases. These people owe me, Pike explained, and now they owe you. Use them smart. Alex did. He started with the $247 from his commissary account. Devin walked him through setting up anonymous crypto wallets, explained how to ride market volatility, How to turn small money into bigger money fast if you had no fear and nothing to lose. Alex had both. He studied 18 hours a day, learned coding from library computers, watched markets move like chess games. In prison, Bernard had taught him how to read financial patterns. Now he weaponized that knowledge. 3 months in, he'd turned $247 into $8,000. 6 months in, $140,000. He didn't sleep, barely ate, lived in cheap motels, and moved every 2 weeks. Used burner phones and proxy servers. Became a ghost. While he worked, Iris dug into Elena's life. The report came back detailed. Elena and Victor had burned through the money fast. Too fast. Victor had a gambling problem that made his old debts look like pocket change. Atlantic City, Vegas, underground poker games where he'd lose hundreds of thousands in a night. Elena's lifestyle kept pace. Penthouses, cars, designer everything. She'd started a lifestyle brand called Right Again, marketing herself as a domestic violence survivor who'd rebuilt her life. The irony made Alex's jaw ache. But the business was failing. Badly. She'd invested millions in inventory that wasn't selling. The brand was bleeding money. Within 18 months of Alex's release, they were nearly broke. Victor had gotten abusive. Neighbors had called the police twice for domestic disturbances. Elena had filed for a restraining order, then dropped it. They're destroying each other. Iris had over-encrypted chat. Give it another year, and they'll have nothing left. No, Alex typed back. Too slow. Because Alex didn't just want them broke. He wanted them to taste hope first. Wanted them to think they'd escape consequences. Then he wanted to take everything while they watched. 18 months after his release, Alex had $4.2 million in untraceable cryptocurrency. He used Wu's services. New identity, complete with credit history, employment records, social media presence going back years. Nicholas Thorne, venture capitalist. Stanford MBA. Early investor in 3 successful tech startups. All fake companies with real-looking websites and glowing press releases. Iris created the entire legend. Photos of Nicholas at conferences. Alex's face digitally altered just enough. Articles mentioning his investments. A LinkedIn with impressive connections. Then came the physical transformation. Minor cosmetic surgery. Chin augmentation. Nose refinement. Subtle changes that made him unrecognizable. Expensive clothes. New haircut. Laser removal of a distinctive scar on his hand. 6 months later, Nicholas Thorne attended a venture capital mixer in Manhattan. He was 43, wealthy, charming, and hunting. Victor's arrest happened on a Tuesday. Federal agents surrounded his and Elena's apartment in Stanford at 6 a.m. Fraud charges. He'd been running investment scams on the side, stealing from desperate people trying to rebuild retirement accounts. Alex, watching from a coffee shop across the street, smiled into his espresso. He'd handed the evidence to the FBI himself. Anonymously, of course. Every transaction, every victim, every lie documented perfectly. Victor's bail was set at $200,000. Elena, face pale and drawn in the courtroom gallery, somehow scraped together the money. Probably sold the last of her jewelry, maybe took a loan against a failing business. When Victor walked out, Alex was there, far enough away to be invisible, close enough to see. Victor looked destroyed. 30 pounds heavier than the photos from the trial. Face bloated from alcohol, eyes hollowed by stress. Elena grabbed his arm. They argued on the courthouse steps. Her hissing accusations, him shoving her away roughly before stalking to their car. Alex's phone buzzed. A text from Mark Voss. Mark had reached out 6 months ago, tracked Alex down through old contacts. The message had been desperate. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. They threatened my family. Please, I need to explain. Alex had ignored it for weeks. Then he'd responded, you want forgiveness? Earn it. Now Mark was his inside man, still in touch with Elena, feeding Alex information. The text read, she's panicking. Business is failing. Victor's legal fees will bankrupt them. She's looking for investors. Perfect. Alex replied, tell her you know someone. Wealthy investor, interested in women-owned brands. Set up a meeting. 3 days later, Elena Wright walked into an upscale cafe in Greenwich to meet Nicholas Thorne. She looked different. Older, obviously. 7 years had passed. But more than that, the confidence was gone, replaced by desperation wearing an expensive mask. Her dress was designer, but last season, her smile bright, but brittle. Mr. Thorne? She extended her hand. Elena Wright, thank you so much for meeting with me. Nicholas, stood and took her hand. Her skin was soft. Just like he remembered, she didn't recognize him. Not even a flicker. Please, call me Nicholas. Sit. He gestured with the ease of someone who owned rooms simply by entering them. Mark's told me wonderful things about your brand. Over coffee, she pitched right again. The mission statement, empowering women who'd survived trauma. The product line, athleisure wellness items. Inspirational books. The market's there, she said, leaning forward. Women want authenticity. They want real stories. And yours is certainly real. Nicholas smiled gently. I read about your case. Your ex-husband. That must have been terrifying. Her eyes welled up on cue. It was, but I survived. And now I want to help other women do the same. Admirable. He paused. Though I have to ask, the financials Mark showed me suggest the business is struggling. She didn't flinch. Growing pains. We expanded too fast. But with the right capital injection and strategic guidance, we can turn it around. How much are you looking for? $2 million initially, for inventory, marketing, and operational costs. Nicholas sat back, studying her. Let the silence stretch. Elena fidgeted. I know it's a lot, but the ROI projections. I'll do $3 million. She blinked. I'm sorry. $3 million. And I'll take an active role, advisory position, help with strategy. This kind of brand needs careful nurturing. He smiled. I believe in second chances, Elena, for businesses and people. She looked like she might cry from relief. I don't know what to say. Say yes. Yes. God, yes. Thank you. They shook hands. Alex felt nothing, just cold satisfaction. Over the next 3 months, Nicholas Thorne became indispensable to Elena's life. He restructured her business, brought in real consultants, fixed her amateur mistakes. Wright again started actually making money, small profits, but growth. More importantly, he became her confidant. They met 3 times a week. Coffee meetings became lunches. Lunches became dinners. Elena talked and Nicholas listened, really listened, the way Alex used to before she destroyed him. She told him about Victor, about the abuse, the gambling, the constant fighting. Why stay? Nicholas asked over wine at a restaurant where the cheapest bottle cost $300. I don't know anymore. She looked tired. We were supposed to be different. Start fresh, you know? But money doesn't fix broken people. No, Alex agreed. It doesn't. She reached across the table, squeezed his hand. You're easy to talk to. I feel like I can tell you anything. You can. And she did. Over the next 2 months, Elena confessed everything, laughing bitterly over wine, thinking she was safe with this wealthy stranger who saw her as a survivor instead of a criminal. She told him about framing Alex, about the planted drugs, the fake bruises, Mark's coerced testimony. He deserved it, she said, words slurring slightly. He changed. Became paranoid, controlling. I had to protect myself. Nicholas nodded sympathetically. You did what you had to do. Exactly. She squeezed his hand harder. Finally, someone who understands. Under the table, Alex's other hand clenched until his nails drew blood from his palm. He was recording every word. 6 months after their first meeting, Wright again exploded. Nicholas's marketing team, real professionals he'd hired, launched a viral campaign. Elena's survivor story got picked up by major outlets. She did interviews, appeared on podcasts, became the face of resilient entrepreneurship. The brand's revenue tripled. Elena glowed, and somewhere in that success, she and Nicholas crossed a line. It happened after a particularly successful product launch. They'd celebrated with champagne, laughing in her newly renovated office. Paid for with Nicholas's investment. She kissed him. Alex let her. Kissed back, hating every second, knowing each moment was part of the trap. She pulled away, eyes wide. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. Don't apologize. He touched her face gently. I've wanted to do that for months. I'm still with Victor. Technically isn't the same as actually. She laughed, bright and young in a way he hadn't heard in years. You make me feel seen. Like I'm more than just my past. You are. The lies came easily now. You're extraordinary, Elena. They became lovers that night. Alex performed the role perfectly. Attentive, passionate. Everything Victor wasn't. Each time she moaned Nicholas's name, each time she whispered that he made her feel alive again, Alex added another item to the debt she owed. Victor found out, of course. Confronted Elena in a screaming match Mark dutifully reported. She didn't care anymore. I'm leaving you, she told Victor, bold now with Nicholas's money backing her. I'm filing for divorce. You can keep whatever's left of your pathetic life. Victor threatened, raged, then crumbled. Without Elena's money, his legal fees would bury him. He was facing federal prison. He signed the papers. 3 months later, Elena announced her engagement to Nicholas Thorne. The media loved it. Survivor finds love again. From trauma to triumph. She did a cover shoot for a business magazine, wearing a ring that cost more than most people's cars. The gala celebrating Right Against Expansion was scheduled for Friday night. 500 guests. A speech about overcoming adversity. Elena's complete social rehabilitation. That afternoon, sitting in her penthouse getting her hair done, Elena felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Pure happiness. She'd survived Alex, escaped Victor, found Nicholas, kind, wealthy, supportive Nicholas who actually loved her. The universe, she decided, had finally balanced the scales. She had no idea the scales were about to crush her. The gala was perfect. Crystal chandeliers, string quartet, waiters circulating with champagne that cost $400 a bottle. Every influential person in Connecticut's business scene had come. Elena stood backstage in a gown that cost $12,000, practicing her speech. Nicholas found her, handsome in his tuxedo. Nervous? Terrified? She laughed. What if I mess up? You won't. He kissed her forehead. You're going to be amazing. Just speak from the heart. I love you, she whispered. I know, he said. Not I love you too. Just I know. She didn't notice. At 8 o'clock, Elena took the stage to thunderous applause. She began her speech. Talked about survival, about rebuilding, about the importance of second chances. 7 years ago, I was in the darkest place imaginable, she said, voice carrying across the hushed ballroom. Trapped in an abusive marriage, fearing for my life. But I found the courage to escape, to rebuild, to create something meaningful. In the lighting booth, a technician, one of Pike's people, waited for the signal. Nicholas stood at the back of the room, phone in hand. He sent a single text. Now. The screens behind Elena, meant to display inspirational images, suddenly flickered. Her voice trailed off. On the massive displays, a video began playing. Elena, laughing, in Victor's arms. He deserved it. God, you should have seen his face when they arrested him. The ballroom went silent. Victor's voice. You sure the drugs are hidden well enough? Elena, please. I put them exactly where that cop said. This is going to work perfectly. More clips. Her confessions to Nicholas. She hadn't known about the recording devices in his car, his home, the restaurants. Her laughing about the frame job, about Alex's conviction, about stealing everything. The final clip, I'm not a survivor. I'm a winner. There's a difference. The screens went black. Elena stood frozen on stage, face white, mouth open. 500 pairs of eyes stared at her. Then the whisper started. Gasps. Someone shouted fraud. No. Elena said into the microphone, voice shaking. Those are edited. Fake. Someone's trying to sabotage. The rear doors burst open. police officers, FBI agents, led by the same prosecutor who'd helped overturn Alex's conviction. Elena Wright, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, perjury, evidence tampering. The list went on. Elena stumbled backward. This is insane. Nicholas. She searched the crowd desperately. Nicholas. Tell them this is a mistake. But Nicholas Thorne was gone. In his place, walking slowly through the parting crowd, was someone else. Someone older. Changed. But she knew those eyes. Elena's knees buckled. Alex. He stopped 10 feet from the stage. Said nothing. Just looked at her. Alex, please. I can explain. I was scared. I didn't know what I was. Don't. His voice was quiet, but it carried. Just don't. The officers moved toward her. I gave up everything for you, she screamed. I sacrificed my career. You gave up one job. Alex's voice was ice. I gave up 6 years of my life. You chose. Now live with your choice. They handcuffed her. As they led her toward the door, she twisted back. I loved you once. That was real. Alex reached into his pocket, pulled out a single coin, walked to her, and placed it in her cuffed hands. For your commissary account, he said softly. You'll need it. Then he walked away. Behind him, Elena's screams echoed through the ballroom as the officers dragged her out. The gala dissolved into chaos. Reporters on phones. Guests fleeing. Elena's brand dying in real time on social media. Alex walked through it all alone, untouched, invisible. Outside, Pike waited by a car. Feel better? Not yet. 6 months later. The rain came down cold. Alex drove through Stanford streets, remembering different routes from a different life. His phone showed new messages, investors wanting meetings, partners proposing deals. Nicholas Thorne had quietly sold Wright against assets before the arrest. Returned money to investors. Vanished. Alex Brennan, legally exonerated and owed restitution, had emerged with his real name and a new fortune built legitimately this time. $48 million. Almost exactly what he'd lost. But he wasn't thinking about money. The car slowed near an intersection in the old part of town. She was there. Elena, sitting against a building, drenched, holding a cardboard sign. Anything helps. God bless. Her trial had been swift. 3 years, eligible for parole, in 18 months. But she'd been out for a week. Early release on a technicality, though she lost everything in restitution and legal fees. No family would take her in. No friends remained. Victor was in federal prison, sentenced to 8 years. She looked up as the car stopped. Their eyes met through the rain-streaked window. Alex saw recognition, saw her stand on shaking legs, saw hope flicker across her ruined face. The window lowered. She stumbled toward the car, falling to her knees beside it. Alex, please. I'm so sorry. I was wrong. I was evil. Please, I'm begging you. He said nothing, just reached into his pocket and pulled out a coin, placed it in her trembling, outstretched hand. Their fingers touched for the last time. She stared at the coin, then at him. Alex! The window closed. The car pulled away. In the rear-view mirror, he watched her collapse in the rain, clutching that single coin, sobbing. He felt nothing. No satisfaction. No joy. No peace. Just a cold, hollow certainty that the debt was paid. The end. 3 weeks later, an anonymous donation hit the accounts of 5 domestic violence shelters across Connecticut. $10 million, split evenly. The donor's message was simple. For those who actually survived. Alex Brennan sat in his office, different company, different building, different life, and stared out at the city. His phone showed a message from Marlowe. Heard about the donation. That was good of you. He didn't respond. Instead, he pulled up a photo from 7 years ago. Him and Elena, young and happy, believing in forever. He studied it for a long moment, then deleted it. Some debts are paid in silence. Some revenges are completed not when your enemy is destroyed, but when they finally understand, truly, completely understand, what they've lost. And some victories taste like nothing at all. Alex closed his laptop and walked a window. Outside, the city moved on, indifferent to his story, to Elena's fall, to any of it. Life, he'd learned, doesn't stop for revenge. It just keeps going. And so did he. Betrayal doesn't just break you. Sometimes, if you survive it, it forges you into something sharper, something colder, something that knows exactly how to return every cut. Elena gave up one career for love and called it sacrifice. Alex gave up 6 years for her lies and called it a lesson. In the end, they both got what they earned. If the story affected you, hit that like button. Drop a comment telling me what you would have done in Alex's position. And subscribe because stories like this, raw, real, unforgettable, are what this channel is built on. The world isn't fair. But sometimes, just sometimes, the scales balance themselves. See you in the next one.